Let me be completely honest with you about something that happened over 2 decades ago because even now, at 54, I am still trying to understand why people treat me like I am the villain of this story. My name is Elise, and back then I was a woman suffocating in a life that looked perfect on the outside, but was slowly draining every ounce of life from me. I was married to Nathan, and we had 5 kids, yes, ranging in age from 3 to 11. Most days, I felt less like a partner and more like a live-in nanny. Nathan worked constantly. He was gone before the kids were awake and didn't come home until after dinner. And even then, he'd collapse into his recliner with a beer, grunting at me like I was a roommate, not a wife. There was no connection left. The romance that vanished somewhere between baby number 3 and 4. But no one talks about that part. They just expect you to smile, be grateful, and ignore the aching loneliness. I ran the entire household, doctor appointments, school events, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, helping with homework, bedtime stories. I was the engine that kept the whole thing running. And what did I get in return? A husband who forgot my birthday and acted like attending a parent-teacher conference twice a year was some grand gesture of commitment. I loved my children with all my heart, but being their mother 24/7 while being invisible to the man who vowed to love me, it was eating me alive. I would look in the mirror and barely recognize the woman staring back. Is this all there is? I used to wonder. Is this what the rest of my life is going to feel like? Desperate to feel human again, I got a part-time job just to escape the house and breathe among adults. That's when I met Marcus. He worked in the same plaza, and from the very first conversation, he noticed me. Noticed in a way that made me feel seen, not just looked at. He asked about my day and waited for the actual answer. He remembered little things I said. He laughed at my jokes. When he complimented my haircut, I realized it had been years since Nathan had even looked me in the eye. Marcus made me feel like a woman again, not just a caretaker or a chore machine. At first, it was innocent conversations at the coffee machine, inside jokes, quick texts, but after years of emotional starvation, even those simple gestures felt like oxygen after drowning. Soon, I found myself looking forward to going to work more than going home. At work, I was witty, passionate, full of opinions. At home, I was just the one who made sure everyone else was okay. The contrast became unbearable, and every time Nathan ignored me, every time he looked through me like I was a fixture in the house rather than his wife, the pull toward Marcus grew stronger. Emotional affairs don't start with grand declarations, they begin with laughter and shared secrets. Slowly, we started finding reasons to spend time together after work. Long drives, coffee breaks that turned into dinners. The touches came later, a hand on the small of my back, a hug that lingered. When we finally crossed that line, I didn't feel shame. I felt alive. After years of feeling invisible, Marcus made me feel wanted. I became an expert at hiding it. I deleted messages, timed showers to erase any trace, made up errands and excuses. Nathan didn't notice, of course he didn't, he was too busy being absent. The guilt people expect you to feel in those moments, I didn't have it. How could I feel guilty for seeking something Nathan had withdrawn long ago? When Nathan started noticing something was off, my mood, my smile, he'd ask questions, and I'd turn it around. Oh, now you care? I'd ask. Where was this concern 5 years ago? I made him feel like the bad guy for even noticing. I gaslit him so well, I started believing it myself. Then one evening, while I was in the shower, Nathan went through my phone. I walked out to find him sitting on the edge of the bed, holding it in his hands. The look on his face said it all. But instead of panic, I felt rage. How dare he invade my privacy? He began reading the texts aloud, his voice cracking, and I didn't feel remorse, felt irritation. Do you want to know why this happened? I snapped. Because you stopped being a husband a long time ago. I cried not out of guilt, but out of frustration. I needed him to understand that this was his doing. I didn't plan to fall for Marcus. It just happened when I was desperate for affection. I told Nathan I'd end it. I swore it was just emotional. I begged for another chance. But even as I said the words, I was already planning how I'd see Marcus again. Therapy came next. Nathan thought we were repairing our marriage. I used the sessions to build my case, painting myself as a woman driven to infidelity by years of neglect. The therapist spotted. Nathan tried to speak up, but I'd already set the stage. I was the victim. He was the distant husband who stopped trying. And all the while, I was still seeing Marcus, texting him after every appointment. I started preparing my exit, a new apartment, a financial plan. I convinced myself that the kids would be fine, that Nathan could handle them, that they'd thank me someday for prioritizing my happiness. When I left, I felt something I hadn't in years. Freedom. I left a note explaining I needed to find myself outside the role of wife and mother. I didn't say goodbye to the kids. I couldn't. I justified it by saying it would spare them the drama. Nathan came home to an empty house and a letter. The kids called that night, sobbing. I told them I loved them, that mommy needed to be happy too. I wasn't abandoning them, just taking space. Got it, sorry. Nathan left me desperate voicemails asking me to come home. But now that I was gone, he finally noticed. Marcus and I moved in together. It felt like the beginning of something real. He made dinner, brought me flowers, listened. For the first time, I felt what I thought was love. Then, 3 months after the divorce was final, Marcus sat me down and said we needed a break. He'd met someone new, someone without kids, without complications, and just like that, the life I'd sacrificed everything for, Vanity walked away. I was furious, devastated. I'd left my family, my home, my security for what? For someone who tossed me aside the minute it got hard. But I didn't fall apart. I found a job, rented my own place, and tried to rebuild. The kids barely spoke to me. They resented me for leaving. Garrett, his new wife, went to every recital and soccer game, playing the role I had once held, making me look even worse. Then came Craig. I met him at a bar. He was rough around the edges, but funny and kind when I needed it. We moved in together, splitting bills. It wasn't love, but it was something. Until the drinking took over. 5 years later, I walked away again. Now, at 54, divorced again, broke, and mostly alone, I look back. The kids are grown. I see glimpses of their lives on social media, graduations, weddings, babies I've never met. They don't reach out. They treat me like a stranger. I tried messaging Nathan on what would have been our anniversary. Nothing. I sent memes about parenting, tried to connect, silence. I even asked for old family photos. Still nothing. It's like I never existed in their world. Everyone sees me as the villain, as if my choice to leave a dead marriage invalidated everything I ever did right. But Nathan moved on. The kids are thriving. Why am I still the one blamed? I'm not asking to rewrite history, just to be acknowledged. We share 5 children, a whole life that has to count for something. I know I made mistakes, but I also know I was a woman who desperately wanted to feel seen. And if that makes me the villain in their story, so be it. But I refuse to let that be the only story told.